Welcome to this episode of the Virtual Engagement Ideas Summit with my special guest, world-renowned poet, dad, owner of his own booking agency, Syed Warsi. It's good to see you. How are you?
Woo! I am good to be here. I can hear the applause.
Yeah, people, I mean, gosh, the crowd, the auditorium, the stadium is going
Yeah,
crazy.
they need to calm down.
Right. So you're in Madison, Wisconsin right now, and where did you go to high school?
I went to high school. I went to a private school in Lombard, Illinois.
In,
Um,
in Illinois. Okay.
yeah.
Not too far from Madison, or is it Southern
Yeah,
Illinois?
it's about 2 hours from
Yeah.
Madison.
Yeah.
I went there for about a year and a half, and then I dropped out of high school. I'm a high school dropout.
Right? No kidding. No kidding.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
my GED to get into college. Yeah.
Wow. And then I mean, but you were writing and rapping
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah,
I was writing and rapping since I was 11, 12 years old.
that's so cool.
Back when we had AOL Instant Messenger and
Yeah, yeah,
online forums.
yeah. And so, were you a rapper in eighth grade? You were already a rapper like when you were in eighth grade, right?
Yeah, dude, I was rapping for all my projects. Like I
Right.
had
That's so cool.
I had a project on Buddhism in world
Yeah,
history class,
yeah.
and I wrote a rap about it, and I aced it.
Right, right. But I think that's really interesting because at the time you were at another private school, an Islamic school, right?
Eighth grade, I was in public
You
school.
were in public school. Okay, all
Yeah.
right. But that was the year. That was the year that you had you became a hot commodity.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they were all over me.
I want to hear the story about being that like going from like a sort of like a the transition from quiet kid to hot commodity.
Yeah, I was a shy guy, but when I stepped onto the stage, which
Mhm.
was in front of my classroom, and I would do like uh impressions of famous people, or I
Yeah,
would do a rap on a whatever project, and literally in every class, math, English, history, I was just like looking for an opportunity to
right,
use the project as a creative outlet, and I do some rap, and the girls were just like they hadn't seen anything like this before.
right.
I was all on the floor. It was it was intense. So I started getting a lot of
A lot of
what's the word?
attention.
Attention. Yeah,
You got a lot of attention.
yeah.
Um, and then I mean, so then okay, so let's jump ahead. You go you continue to write, you continue to create, you continue to perform, and then you start an agency. You start an agency called Book of Muslim. Bam,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what was sort of the inspiration behind that? Where were you in life when you started an agency?
So, I went to that private school for a year, and then I
Yep.
dropped out of high school, and I got my GED, got back on track, and went to NIU for undergrad. That's
Uh-huh.
Northern Illinois University
Yeah.
in DeKalb, and that's where I joined the Student Activities Board. And I was
Uh-huh.
just a student leader wannabe, trying to get my life
Yeah.
a little bit more serious. As students are kind
Uh-huh.
of just all over the place, but the Campus Activities Board really like allowed me to bring some structure to my life. Had some other people holding me accountable, so and I just noticed there was just a lack of representation of Muslims and
Yeah.
people of my background, and I thought like, hey, what about creating this like resource for higher ed and student affairs
Right.
professionals to book more diverse people, specifically from Muslim backgrounds?
Right. That's and were you in college when you started it?
I was in college when I became the first artist.
Oh,
So
you,
I was still in,
you didn't.
yeah,
It wasn't Book of Muslim yet. It was specifically Book Me.
yeah, it was bookme.com.
And
um,
since then, you've grown and you have an amazing roster of amazing folks. You know, and you have a global impact, which is awesome. What was your initial reaction for all of your speakers and your artists when everything shifted to virtual in March? What was the first? What was your initial reaction when all that happened?
my initial reaction was, nice. Now I won't have to deal with all those plane tickets and hotel bookings, right? Uh, it made me feel a little bit relieved because actually 2020 was an overwhelmingly great year, but it was like really overwhelming. So allowed things to slow down a little bit. But yeah, I was a little bit concerned. Like, how am I gonna
Sure.
recuperate from all of this? And things were uncertain, but now they're shifting towards like more creativity, and that's
Yeah. But
it's
it's
amazing.
interesting. I just want to. I don't mean to interrupt you, but what you said is you in a way your story is a little like your agency was growing so fast that it was maybe like you, the COVID was actually sort of a blessing to you, like to slow down, right? Sit
Yeah.
still and think about it. But in college booking, where we both spend a lot of our time, social justice, when COVID started, wasn't what everyone was talking about. But in the last few months, like people were more worried about like, what are we going to do to entertain the students, right? Because
Right.
schools were quickly trying to book magicians and comedians and entertain the students who were having a tough day,
Hmm.
right? And your artists and your talent that you represent is really centered around social justice,
Hmm.
right? What's the difference for you in having to represent that demographic of talent?
Yeah, good question. We're all about cultural and educational programming. And
Yep.
so it's not the most interesting stuff as compared to pulling a dove out of a hat.
Yeah.
But it's really important stuff. And what I find is that every campus is looking for that type of content. And I feel like I'm fulfilling a purpose. I'm filling that void
Yeah.
where oftentimes there's not too many options. And I really am selective about who I represent on the
Yeah.
roster. And so I'm really passionate about the people that we represent. And it allows me to really do my job as enthusiastically as a magician might be showing a card trick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really enjoy like having those deep conversations. And during when COVID happened, and then we heard a lot of protests happening around social justice issues,
Right.
uh, that was the perfect time for me to engage majority of the speakers that I had to do some additional educational programs and
Right.
out with a really great series. So far it's been going pretty well.
That's great. Was it backburnered? So I think what I was trying to ask earlier is was social justice put on the back burner for a period by schools? Like just for like
Yeah,
there was this window
yeah.
before George Floyd was killed. Were there already protests? And forgive my ignorance on this. Were there already social justice protests around COVID-19?
I mean, there's always current issues that are relevant to social justice happening all the time. But when COVID hit, everybody's main concern was, how do we keep the students engaged? How do we keep them happy? How do we keep them connected?
Right.
Couldn't really do that by talking about anything serious. And most of our topics are pretty serious and
Yeah.
educational. So, um, the fun stuff is like in the area of art, and even it's like a little bit foreign to the audience that we work with,
Uh huh.
but it's interesting and fun, where we do like calligraphy workshops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
And what have been some of your more successful events with your roster?
so we had a virtual graduation ceremony that was a lot of fun.
Right. Now
Um,
that was not okay. That was global. I want you to. Can you explain that to?
yeah,
That's an amazing story because this was you probably did the first. You preceded all the college graduations with your graduation ceremony,
yeah, yeah.
right?
That was the first thing I thought about. I'm like, oh my goodness, all of these students are not going to get to walk. It's such a big moment in so many students' lives,
Yeah.
is to walk across and have their family, even if they're like hundreds of feet away, cheering them on. And I recalled that moment and I realized, wow, they're not going to be able to get to do that. So what should we do? And I thought it would be really nice if, because we have a lot of our speakers have a huge following and they have a bunch of fans, and I was like, now that we have the internet and we're going virtual, the reach is limitless.
Yeah.
So I thought I could incorporate and entertain a bunch of university students. Little did I know that it wouldn't just be university students, it'd be grad students, it'd be high school students, it would be students not just in America, but in Malaysia, in the UK, and it was amazing. The type of feedback that I got. There was a student who was autistic, and their parents were so grateful that he would be able to, graduate and have his name pronounced, because he has some sensory issues that wouldn't allow him to participate in a large crowd traditional graduation. So that teared me up, and it made me feel really great.
Yeah, and your artists were the ones who were reading the names of the graduates, right?
Yeah, it was cool because we got clips of students standing in front of their screen, the screens behind them, and their favorite speaker or their favorite artist is, spelling out their name, or saying their name and congratulating them. So it's cool.
Right, and you marketed this specifically to Muslim schools across the country, right?
Well, Muslim students were like the target market and the target audience. But Muslim students are on every campus. You have Muslim student organizations and small clubs on every campus. So we reached out to like the universities to connect us with their Muslim student orgs, or built on the connections we already had with Muslim student orgs.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
It was really nice. Yeah.
Tell me about the Showing Up for Justice learning series. How's that going?
So it's great. It got completed last Sunday. So now we have beautiful recorded classroom style content that we can reproduce, and people can still buy tickets, and you go at their own pace, and they still have access to engage with the speakers that they love to hear from in their various areas of expertise. And this was a series specifically designed for people who aren't from the Black community to understand what the Black community is going through and has gone through over the past couple hundreds of years in the United States. And then really position themselves in 2020 and recognizing what their responsibility is moving forward as someone who's not Black, who's not directly impacted by the issues at hand. So it was really eye-opening, great discussions, really high engagement. I really loved it.
Well, you created this program. So you said the recordings of it are available. Was it created to create the recordings?
Not initially. I mean, it was just an outcome of the fact that when you put on a virtual event, it always asks you, like even when you have a Zoom meeting, it's like automatically records as default. And that's a great thing because you always have a point of reference. And so when you have now virtual events, you don't have to hire a videographer like you would in live events. So there's a huge difference there, and there's a big advantage where you walk away with a bunch of content that you could repurpose for different social media.
And you can have a greater impact with more schools because your speakers, and I always bounce between calling your roster speakers and artists because they are. You have speakers, you have artists. And it's, I'm a speaker and an artist too. So when people ask me what I do, I'm like, well, I do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and so that's really cool. So that is a silver lining of this era of this chapter in our lives, is that you were creating this event for an actual in-person virtual event, and then now you have the footage, you have the recorded version of it. So you can have a greater impact than you ever imagined, because really that content will exist, and moving into the fall, more and more schools will have access to that, which is great, right? That's awesome. So that's called Showing Up for Justice, and that was specifically to help us, the world, understand the Black Muslim community, or the Black community?
The Black community in general. Like, what is the Black community going through right now in the United States of America in particular? And the
Right.
social justice series is all Black educators, educating
Huh.
people who are not Black, getting them to understand their perspective, understand the history, understand
Yeah.
the context, and the current issues at hand. So um,
Right.
I learned a lot.
Oh, that's I was going to ask that question because you're a stockpile of knowledge.
I
You're
don't know about that.
you're an historian. I mean, I've learned a lot of lessons from you just in our conversations over the last bunch of years. Um, but that's interesting that so you attended them as well. You were an attendee of these workshops.
Oh yeah,
That's great.
absolutely.
That's really cool. TEDx Tuesdays.
Yeah.
TEDx Tuesdays is another program that you're finding success with. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so check it out. I also did a TEDx talk.
Yeah,
at,
mic drop, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
mic drop.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
I did that at the school that I went to undergrad for at Northern Illinois University,
Yeah.
and I'm really hyper identity focused. I've kind of built my brand and my work around my identity,
Yeah.
and I really help students understand their own identity and their strengths and how to take advantage of themselves and really
Yeah.
put their talents to use.
Yeah.
And so I end up doing this TEDx talk called Cultural Expectations of Masculinity, because there is within my own Pakistani immigrant Muslim community, there's an expectation what it means to be a man and masculine.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I'm total opposite, man. I love little kids. I love to cook.
Uh-huh.
I majored in family and consumer sciences, which is basically fancy for home economics.
Yeah.
And I didn't take the traditional path that a lot of immigrant parents expect their children to take. And so that whole TED Talk, made me reflect on, I have a bunch of speakers who've done TEDx talks. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we did a watch party and then we did a live discussion. So it was really cool.
Oh, what a great idea. Okay, that's really cool. Cool. So you watch the talk. So you're there. You're watching yourself give your talk with students watching too, and then you're available for Q&A.
Yeah, and then I'm like, hey,
That's great.
did you find anything offensive or funny or
Right.
whatever? Let's talk about it.
Right. It's interesting that you said home ec because I did watch some of your YouTube videos. The one that I
Okay.
particularly love is you making macaroni and cheese, and you titled it "Muslims Like Mac and Cheese." and I think, or it was like Muslims. I don't remember. It was mac and cheese and Muslim. It was
Yeah.
just really funny. It was real, and it's great because it humanizes you to someone who would never like this. We live in a funny country,
Yeah.
and I call it funny because I call it funny because that could blow somebody's mind. They're like, Muslims eat mac and cheese. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you're a guy from Illinois who went to college, and you're a rapper and a poet and a dad.
Yeah.
Like I think it's really important. There's so many people in our country who just are not getting this opportunity to meet you, right?
Right.
They don't have the opportunity, and hopefully, moving forward with this platform, we're going to have more opportunities to touch more lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Right.
think that's the biggest positive that I see out of the circumstances that we face since March is like now the reach is a lot wider, it's broader. People are talking to each other more. Everyone wants to be heard. Look at how many Facebook comments you see out there in the world.
Yep.
Every Joe Schmo is commenting on a topic that they don't know about. But the point is, people want to be heard, but now they're also listening. So it's a really cool time.
That is great. That is great. Hey, tell me more about Muslim dad life, because that, we just touched on the fact that you're a dad, but that really, Tell me about how that relates to your identity.
Yeah, parenting is the greatest responsibility and blessing that I could have ever asked for. And I just love my kids so much that I always want to be with them.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I just like really, really enjoy it. And part of why I'm still building this brand called Muslim Dad Life is that there is a negative representation of Muslim men,
Yeah.
not participating in their family, they're always working or whatever, and or they're mistreating their women, and there's all these negative connotations associated with Muslim men in particular. And 3 years ago, I decided I'm gonna look even more Muslim than ever. I'm gonna grow out my beard,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be like, look, I'm gonna be a positive role model. And so I help a bunch of dads from all over the world on my Instagram and on my TikTok, ideas on how to be more engaging. Even right now, like now with COVID, bunch more dads are at home now, and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's what goes into a lot of the housework. Many dads that I know don't really participate in housework that as I have since the beginning. And so I make it fun. I provide strategies, and I showcase what I do. So it's a good time.
That's great. So you're helping, obviously, generations and generations of embedded practices and culture. You're kind of turning it on its head for Muslim masculinity, and that being a dad, are you still a macho man?
Right. It's like, doing the laundry or cooking dinner doesn't make you like, see, the culture that I come from, my dad doesn't even get his own water. He works, he just works and works. He's the provider, and like providing that financial piece is major key, no doubt. But it really stunted his participation in other things in other areas. So kind of take more defined roles as a man, and the woman has her more defined roles. And I'm trying to shatter that that dynamic and be like, no, we can do everything together, and you can be happy and not ashamed of like ironing your wife's clothes.
How does and how is your dad taking this all?
I'm sure he's uncomfortable, and he still has his mentality. I don't expect to change my dad, but I can see moments of him being proud of me, but he won't say it because that's men don't share their emotions, right? That's another stereotype, or like another embedded thing where even like aside from Pakistani culture, let's talk about like male culture in the United States, where there's like boys don't cry, like oh, that's girly, and so I rock pink, and I say words like cute and and I put it out there. So
and you get your own water.
I get my own water.
You get your own water. That's great. Well, Syed, this has been an awesome conversation, and I know that you're very identity focused. And what can I do to learn more about the Muslim community?
Yeah, it's it definitely starts with knowledge and conversations. But if you don't know somebody who's Muslim, then follow social media accounts like @Muslims of the World, follow @Book of Muslim. Follow me @Muslim Dad Life, and
Muslim Dad Life @Muslim Dad Life, and the other one was @Muslims of the World,
Muslims of the World,
and @Book of Muslim. Because I'm familiar with that one.
That one.
Yeah, that one. I'm really excited to learn so much from you today. How are you with your singing?
Oh, say, can you see? Like I can.
That is awesome.
I'm waiting for the opportunity, like to pull up to a baseball stadium and sing the anthem. No, I sometimes my kids tell me, Baba. They call me Baba, by the way.
Uh-huh.
They say, Baba, can you stop singing?
Oh, really?
And I don't stop. And I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
stop.
yeah. You keep singing. That's fun. That's fun. Hey, well, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is going to
Appreciate
be
it.
really cool. I look forward to
Yeah, it's
seeing
been a
who
really
else
fun
you bring
interview.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for spreading the knowledge to the world as well.
Oh, no doubt. Anytime.
Yeah.
And anything you need, let me know. Let's work together in this
Sure.
unprecedented time. Let's
Right.
scratch each other's backs and comb each
Right.
other's beards.
Hey. Oh yeah, yeah. Trimming. let's scratch each other's backs. What'd you say? And
And
trim
comb each other's
and
beards.
comb each other's beards. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. All right. Well, wait. Any parting words for advisors across the country? Advice for folks in higher ed right now. What moving forward into this fall semester?
Hey,
Words of
I'd
wisdom.
say
Words of wisdom.
moving forward into this fall semester, get your interns to be up on social media. They get them to create content, make it fun. Definitely get on TikTok. I know there's controversy around it, but get on TikTok. It's not leaving. It's amazing. And continue to do a diverse array of programming, and there's so many resources out there than ever before. So talk to each other as advisors too. I'm sure you already have your networks. But yeah, have fun. Have fun. It's a great time to be alive. And I wish you health and joy as you move on to the fall semester.
Thank you. 10.
There we go.